Hello, you are listening to the NextGen Planners podcast. NextGen Planners is a brilliant financial planning community with just about the most supportive membership you can find. We strive for inclusion and best practice throughout our profession and the industry as a whole. Each week we take a dive into an aspect of your profession with honest conversation, fresh ideas, and provoking thoughts from insightful individuals inside and outside of financial services. So sit back, relax, and enjoy. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the NextGen Planners podcast. My name is Amelia Hamilton, and I am your head of community here at NextGen Planners. And I'm very excited for our next episode today because I'm joined by a brilliant guest who I very much enjoy talking to. And that is Sian Davies Cole. Welcome to the podcast. How are you doing?
Hi, Amelia. Good, thank you. Good, you?
Yeah, not too bad. The days are getting longer, so I'm feeling good. The sun is setting later and later, and that does wonders for my mood.
Will be here in no time.
Yeah, before we know it. But before we wish all the time away, as it stands right now, where you are in your life, what does a day look like for you? What does a day entail? What do you get up to? I'm sure there's no exact blueprint, but yeah, take us through the whirlwind of the day in the life of Sian.
Oh gosh, yeah. I mean, like every day is different, and I think most paraplanners really love the variety that can happen, and that's what sort of really propelled me into this as a career, actually, because I realised that not every day looks the same, and every case is slightly different, which is great. But then that luxury is now kind of with my team, so I'm pretty much responsible for making sure that they know what they're doing. They know they can come to me for technical support, and their day is kind of mapped out so they can get on with supporting the clients that we look after, who are financial planners, and they know what they're doing. We mainly deal with like quite technical, quite complicated financial advice. So that's where kind of my specialty is being able to help with those. Historically, I was working on them more, but now it's mainly supporting them to be able to work on those kinds of cases. So most of my day is spent looking after a paraplanning team, which entails mainly technical queries, as well as just organising stuff generally. I do get really involved in still technical stuff, so I'm spending most of my time building centralised investment propositions or doing kind of higher level, I say high level, but like deep research on platforms or propositions, and then talking to wonderful financial planners most of the day as well. And I'm balancing that with looking after my little one. So she's in school, so I'm trying to be, have that really good work-life balance. Trying, mostly succeeds, but kind of managing that after-school thing. Trying not to work after she comes home. Trying to not work weekends as well. So for me, it looks like pretty much a whirlwind during school hours, and then a shut off as soon as school finishes, which is interesting, but quite nice. It works for me at the moment, which is good.
Yeah, definitely. And as you say, if you can try and get that balance, then you can hopefully be better in all of those areas as well. If it's not all consuming here, all consuming there, it's trying to be, well, while I'm here and focused on this, I can get as much done. And then, when you have that time with your daughter, then you can just fully enjoy that, knowing that, you've put in the work and you've done what you need to do.
Exactly.
Amazing.
Work, financial planning, looking after the team, that's my priority. As soon as that school bell goes, then my daughter and Lego is my priority. That's fine. That's cool.
Any particularly good sets of Lego that she's into or you're into?
She's into them because I'm into them.
Right.
I got a few plans. Like we really like Disney Lego, so we have a lot of that, and that's more I build and then she, plays with it afterwards. I've got the Statue of Liberty. That's mine to build. That's my next one. I've got as far as opening the box and realizing that it's very beige, so it's going to be a bit difficult in terms of being interested in it. But the end result is going to be good.
Yeah, sounds great. I mean, I've heard a lot of people talk about how good it is as kind of a mindfulness activity as well, to just kind of calmly sit and put things together and kind of just relax. And it's almost meditative in a way.
Well, it seems to be quite a common thing with paraplanners. Jigsaw puzzles is kind of generally very generalised, but that's generally a hobby of paraplanners. And Lego is just another form of a jigsaw puzzle. It has for me, it has the right level of stress and achievement that I need in my life to make me do stuff. So yeah, I love Lego. Absolutely love it. I've got two massive sets that I haven't started building because I just don't even know where to put them. I don't know where to build them because you need a lot of room to build these things. But then when you've built them, where do you put the Home Alone house once you've built it? And you're not going to take that apart again, right?
No, absolutely not.
Life decisions.
Yeah. Conundrum we all face on a daily basis. Where do we put the Home Alone house? Tell me that.
Yeah, I don't know.
Amazing. So that kind of leads quite. Yes, please do. Please do. Let me know. And all of that leads quite nicely into the topics we're talking about today, in terms of mentoring and managing people, situations, all of that kind of stuff, which I think sometimes isn't really seen as important as some other areas of financial planning or financial services in general, to kind of maximize efficiency and to get the best out of people. But it's really at the heart of what everyone's doing, because it's people serving, helping people. So we want to make sure that we've got a really good foundation to work from. So I guess my first question to you then is how did you first get involved in the mentoring side of things within the financial planning profession?
Yeah, so from my point of view, how I got involved in it is I was mentored when I worked for quite a large organisation. They had, like a lot of big organisations have, a mentoring program or scheme that you can apply to be a mentor. You can apply for a mentor, and I found that quite useful. And loads of people will have come through kind of to financial planning through my journey, which was working for a big bank. So I know lots of people will have experienced that kind of thing. So you're very much in a big organisation like that, a number. You go through very commercialised processes like performance reviews and one-to-ones and annual reviews on your salary, on your performance and things like that. And you're given a number. It's all very, very standardised. But then they have good processes for raising grievances and all of those kinds of things. So HR things, you can learn from those, and then you learn how you want to do it better. That's my point of view anyway. But that's how I kind of saw the benefits of mentoring. So I had a mentor. So I've always been quite ambitious, but I've never really known, at that point early in my career, I never really knew kind of how to get there. So that's why I found it really useful. And certainly the mentor that I had, it was a good kind of talking sense into me. Not getting, when you're in a situation, you get quite emotional about it, quite upset, maybe quite upset about it. And that then affects your judgment and your ability to do your job really well or to make really good decisions. So that's what my mentor was there for, to help me to kind of go, Sian, look, yes, that isn't what you wanted the outcome to be, but don't focus on that. What is your end goal? Like, focus on that end goal. Let's work out what that end goal is, or the points that you need to get to in between that. And let's just focus on that. You're doing the right thing. Just carry on doing that. And this will, make you a better person by not focusing on those annoying things. And that served me really well, to be honest, in my life, both personally and professionally. So that was my starting point of seeing mentoring. And as you'll know, there's loads of mentoring things that are out there with our professional bodies. But there didn't seem like there was anything specifically for paraplanners. And, I think anybody that knows a paraplanner knows that paraplanners generally are quite a different personality type than financial planners. And that's really generically speaking. So all this, from my point of view, when I looked at these mentoring schemes, a lot of them are full of financial advisors, financial planners. So it's not really made for paraplanners necessarily, and there certainly didn't seem to be anybody that I felt was someone like me. I'm not one to sit about. I kind of looked at it and went, right, let's do something about this then. So I teamed up with fellow NextGener Chloe Phillips and started talking about setting something up ourselves. So we did. So we set up the Paraplanner Club. So we're 3 years strong now, and that's 3 years officially. It took kind of a good year, 18 months in the planning before that. So now we offer a free mentoring scheme to anybody who wants to be an awesome paraplanner. And it keeps me out of trouble, that's for sure. I still mentor. I still mentor a number of people within the program. I also then have set up getting a team of mentors on board as well. So we've got over 20 mentors now mentoring over I think about 60 people, and we see loads of people coming into the profession. So they decided they want to be a paraplanner, or at least want to start there. They have often started their diploma or even got their diploma while working as a nurse or a mechanic or things like that. So they have somewhere got the advice that if they get the diploma and then talk to somebody in the profession, they'll suddenly get a job as a paraplanner, and then we can have a real conversation with them.
Yeah, amazing. And I think it's that kind of support that can often be overlooked, but can be so vital to someone moving forward and feeling confident and empowered and able to make the right choices for themselves and for their career. So to be a good mentor, or to have a successful kind of mentor-mentee relationship, what do you think the components of that looks like?
So whenever we're taking on a new mentor, and we're always looking for new mentors, the first thing that we're really looking for, we're looking for them to have a little bit of experience of having done it before, whether that's working in a team or managing a team and, building people up, identifying skills, something like that is kind of useful. But actually, can they have a comfortable conversation with somebody that they've not met before? So that's usually us. And that's just a really good test, because you have to feel really comfortable with somebody to then kind of go, right, so what a bit like financial planning. So what are your life goals? What are your professional goals? What have you done about it? And really challenging them. But yeah, the key skill, I think, is going to be challenge, and also then trying not to tell them what to do, but just what do you think you need to do, and what stopped you from doing that, and what are you going to do about that? So those kind of pushing questions, and then making them accountable for that. So next time we meet, you're going to have done the actions that you've agreed that you want and need to do to achieve your goals. So next time we'll check in and see how you're getting on with those. And then again, replaying those and kind of going, right, where are you with those? And that's when you kind of, that's a really good relationship. And it works on both sides. Life gets in the way of people doing those things sometimes. They're not letting us down. They're not letting themselves down. It just happens. But it's good to kind of have those check-ins, and then the mentees that then have taken those actions, they feel really proud of themselves. They feel like they've moved on, even just in a short space of time. And we see a mix of people doing, a mix of kind of both routes as well within our scheme. So it's really interesting, and we get to see a lot of things that happen kind of under the bonnet of our profession. Some great, some not so great, but it's without having some impartial kind of guidance, or somebody that's been in the profession, understands kind of the various things that go on in the profession, then that can really help them to get where they want to go, which is good.
Yeah, absolutely. And it sounds then as if it can be incredibly rewarding to be a mentor, and to be able to see someone go from wherever they started from through to a place that they really wanted to, that perhaps felt untangible, or they didn't know how it was going to happen, and suddenly however long after that first initial meeting they can get there. So do you have any kind of stories or particularly successful kind of journeys you've had with people that you could share with us?
Yeah, I mean, generally speaking, I can share some of the things that we see. We've seen, I've obviously moved into outsourced paraplanning, and there's been quite a big shift into that over the last few years. It's not for everybody, but we do get quite a number of people coming into, asking for a mentor because they're looking at doing that. And we're quite clear about what we do and don't do within the Paraplanner Club as well. So we are not here to kind of go, everyone needs to be an outsourced power planner. Come and, we'll show you how to do it. Like, it's like, right, let's give you a reality check of how to get there if you really need to get there. And are you the right kind of person to be doing it? Like, you need to think about some things and you might need to do some housekeeping. But we've seen quite a lot of people come through by doing that. Some a bit by accident. It starts off with, they are looking to, find another role because, they've tried everything they can where they are and that's not working. And then, you get to a next meeting and then they are, they might well have handed their notice in by that point and decided they're going self-employed. We see that journey quite a lot, and it's really, for me, rewarding to see the people that have done it and are really soaring. But also then having the guidance still behind the scenes, because mentoring doesn't need to stop just because they've done the thing that they might have thought they wanted to do. Because then, there's always challenges along the way. And, I'm seeing people doing things that I did when I first got into the outsourced world and then realized that was a mistake. But yeah, everyone learns from what they do. But yeah, that's is really interesting part. And then, so that's probably, other than studying, which is a big issue, and getting into the profession, those are two quite big things that we see quite a lot. But the other side is outsourced. Yeah, there's quite a lot of people coming in and saying, either I want to be an outsourced power planner or maybe an administrator, because we get lots of administrators coming through, maybe not knowing how to move on, where they want to get to. Is power planning going to be right for them? Or outsourced administration. That's another route that we're seeing too.
Yeah, absolutely. That sounds brilliant. And so you kind of mentioned before some of the strategies that makes a successful relationship, and it's asking those open-ended questions. It's making sure that you're there to kind of guide but not inform or instruct what to do. Obviously, from person to person, how they receive information and how they can communicate, it's going to be quite different. How do you kind of tailor that mentoring approach to different individuals and their kind of unique personality traits or desires that they might have?
I don't think it's too different from, we obviously, you talk to a lot of financial planners, as do I, and I don't think it's that much different from that kind of relationship and the way that you would tailor your discussions. I think it's a little bit easier because, we're not selling anything, and not to say all financial planners are selling something, but there is a service that they're offering and their clients are going to pay for it. We're not doing that, although we are providing a valuable service. So I think it's, tailoring it's a skill. And for us, when we're introducing new mentors into the scheme, having the experience of having done something along the lines of coaching or mentoring before is really key for us, because that's telling us that they already know how to manage different people or coach different people in different ways. Because at the moment, we're not here to train people how to be a mentor. It might be something that we can end up doing, later down the line. I'd love to get involved in that. But it's not something that we're here at the moment. And there's so many people that do mentoring without calling it official mentoring. It happens all over the place. And this is giving kind of people an opportunity to get involved in it officially. Which is why we had no shortage of people coming to us actually saying, I really want to give something back. I really want to encourage people into the profession or encourage more people. We get a lot of, there's still, a real lack of diversity in our profession. And there are people getting stuck at certain levels in roles, not for the right reasons. They want to move on, but they're not given the opportunity. So this is kind of a way for us to be able to kind of go, right, let's try and remove the barriers if we possibly can, which is why we introduced the scheme as a no cost service, because you don't have to have a membership to get access to a free mentor, and it's all free, which is kind of the only scheme that's available with mentoring, which is why we did that, because then there's no excuse for anyone that wants to be an awesome paraplanner. They can just come to us and get some guidance. Yeah,
which is what this industry desperately needs, isn't it? Is to remove those barriers to entry, to make sure that advice is to get where you want to go is accessible, and it's not that your father worked in this kind of role, so then you will also, and you're aware of the industry and the world because you've been exposed to it from early on. It's going, okay, well, no, it's anybody, if you have an interest in this, if this is something that you feel that you would be good at and you'd enjoy, then it's brilliant that there's schemes like this that mean that there's support available to anybody, as you said. And so clearly there's huge benefit for the mentee, as you were kind of describing there. But I would assume that there's also benefits for you as a mentor, and not just perhaps the feeling like you're giving back, but I'm sure there's a lot to learn from people who come from a different career or who are younger. And so are there kind of benefits like that you see from running all of this?
Yeah, absolutely. We learn from talking to people that do something, do life, do work, do everything maybe a little bit different to us, and also learning from people that are going through maybe some tough or different situations that we haven't been through before. And that's one reason why when we set up the scheme, having a group of mentors was going to be really important, because we know that somebody might come to me and say that they've got having this particular issue, and that might be something that I'm completely unfamiliar with and can't work out where I would even go with that. So for me to then be able to reach out to a group of experienced professionals that might have had some experience in that was going to be really key, because there's no problem. We have lots of crossover where we introduce another mentor into that mentee and mentor relationship if they can maybe help. We sometimes move a mentee over to a different mentor if that's something that's going to work. It's obviously all by agreement, but there's quite a lot of crossover there, and so yeah, that's quite it's quite an interesting part of our what we do, and it is all it's all private as well. So we're all learning as we go through, and we I think in the profession generally we don't need to typecast people as being a paraplanner only, or a paraplanner that's always going to move into being a financial advisor or a financial planner, or you're coming into paraplanning only to be a financial planner. So this is kind of a nice role that prepares someone for having those connected conversations, which could move you into thinking, oh, I could do this with clients, or actually I want to manage people. So it's a good kind of soft way into those kind of options, or not. You just go, that's a nice, it's a nice way of interacting with people while I then get back to my spreadsheets as a day-to-day paraplanner. It's just another thing, another way of giving back. But yeah, we can learn so much from people, as financial planners learn from their clients all the time. We're all human, and we absolutely shouldn't forget that, especially in the kind of new world that we're in, where AI is all everybody talks about. Focusing on being human, and that human interaction between people is always going to be really key.
Absolutely. And I'm really glad you kind of brought that point up, because so often, and rightly so, there's so many conversations about AI and technology and how that is pushing the industry forward, and what that's going to do, and the efficiency it's going to bring, and how exciting it is. And it is. But we also have to remember that it is about people. And if you haven't got a team of people that are happy, if you haven't got people who are being able to work efficiently and happily, then nothing's going to really work, and
it all falls apart. Yeah,
exactly. And so making sure that we kind of maintain that focus and attention to the human side, as well as making sure we're staying on top of trends and looking at what's coming around the corner, and it's all exciting and great, but it's a balance, isn't it? And it's making sure that both of those things are being held in two hands.
Absolutely. And so it's about using technology to make sure that we spend the time doing the things that are really beneficial for people. From a HR perspective, there's lots of technology that people can use out there, but is getting that right balance of going, when I need to speak to a human because I'm having issues, or I need someone to really talk this through with me. A machine, a robot, a process that is clicking a button is not going to cut the mustard. And people need to be able to have that kind of outlet. It's all about empowering people to be able to, be be human when they need to be human, and actually when a human isn't needed, then that's cool. It's making things as easy as possible. And the way that I look at AI is that it's going to take away a lot of the things that we do day to day that are more mundane and annoy us, and then we can put our brains to real use doing analysis and financial planning and thinking, because that stuff is stuff that will always need a human element to it.
Definitely. And so sticking with looking at humans and managing humans, moving from mentoring, let's go into kind of the managerial side of things, which is different, obviously, to mentoring, but still, some of the same principles and things to bear in mind. So you obviously manage a team of a lot of people. How do you approach team building in that context, especially considering kind of the technical nature of the work that you do?
Yeah, absolutely. It's tricky, and I'm not going to say that I've got it down to a T. It's probably something that I could do better, and actually, that's it's a good skill to know when you could do something better, I think. Team building it's a funny business, especially in our world, especially where we've got a different mix of personality types. So understanding the people that you are working with, the people in your team, is really key. Understanding personality types is a key part of that. So anyone, and I've been introduced to this, working for large organizations, part of like sales training that I would have gone through, they do the standard personality tests. But that was, for me, a real eye-opener. And I've done it quite a few times in different firms that I've worked in as well. And it's always been kind of an interesting thing, especially in the team building environment too, where you kind of then being able to understand, why somebody acts in a certain way. And we see a lot of different egos and things that happen in this profession, and it helps you to understand and process that stuff, as well as how do I communicate with different people, how why are they not interacting with me in the way that I interact with them, because we're all different, right? So it just helps you kind of understand that, I think, a lot more. Getting under the skin of personality types, the personality types of people that you're working with, is key. Not treating everybody the same way that you are kind of want to be treated, or treat other people, and not expecting that to be okay, is a really key thing as well. But yeah, I mean, we work like a lot of outsourced paraplanning teams. We work remotely, so we all live very separately. We get together as often as we possibly can, but not for we don't tend to get together for like work chat. Although we obviously end up talking about work chat because that's all we ever do, right? But we get together for food and drinks, some fun times, and try and keep it that way, rather than kind of always making it work stuff.
Yeah, definitely. And so obviously then there's going to be a lot of challenges that come with managing a team, especially remotely, where you don't, see people every day in person, and it's harder to perhaps have that connection and understand where they're at. What are the challenges that you've faced with that, and how have you kind of attempted to address them or overcome them?
Yeah, I think it goes back to kind of a lot of the principles of mentoring as well. Like being an open person is a really key thing. Being approachable, making yourself available, not endlessly, but just being really clear with people about when you're available, and for them to approach you whenever they need to, is quite a key thing. Another part of that is something that we really encourage in mentoring, actually, which is making sure that there is, an opportunity for one-to-ones. One-to-ones is what I call them, but like a regular meeting with the person that line manages you, or is responsible for your HR stuff within your business. However we dress it up, it's all very jargony, but there will be somebody that is responsible for your well-being, responsible for your promotion opportunities, your studying, how well you're doing, keeping you on track, and that sort of stuff. So I make sure that whatever size team I'm running, there is always one-to-ones in the diary. They are regular. We try to stick to those as much as we possibly can. But the process, the actually what you're going to talk about in that meeting doesn't have to be, I don't think, that structured. There might be certain things you always cover, but it's really just having that space to go, how are you? How are you feeling about stuff? Airing any, problems that haven't been aired, like in the previous, during cases being worked on and stuff like that. just so everyone knows where they are, because nobody wants any surprises. And that's from both sides. No employee wants to be told you're not doing well. And I've waited a whole month between your last one-to-one and now to tell you. That's like awful. And likewise, an employer doesn't want to hear, like, yeah, I'm not happy. I've not been happy for like 5 months. Like, you're just like, well, any good employer is not going to feel good about that. And you're instantly into like panic mode, which is not good. So there's a number of benefits from that, from a business point of view, but also from a personal wellbeing point of view, I think is really key. But from my point of view, I very much encourage through, running my team, but also through the mentoring. It's not about expecting a one-to-one and, making it happen and the responsibility being on the employer. Actually, I put more responsibility on the employee, the team member, to want and need a one-to-one and come prepared and, not demand it, but like go in there with what are you wanting to get out of this? Because actually they're the most productive one-to-ones that will ever happen, I think anyway, because if you're clear about what you want and what direction you want to go in as an employee, about where you want to go in your career, then, the employer, the team manager, the line manager has a responsibility to you to make that happen or make it clear what that path is, or whether there is no path, because sometimes that's the case as well. And then there's no surprises. Everyone knows exactly where they are.
Yeah, absolutely. And, if you can empower your team members to feel like they can come forward with ideas and they can make sure that they're advocating for themselves, then it's going to be a much more fruitful business where you've got individuals who are all there to work together for a team, but making sure that, they've got themselves where they want, and the ideas that they're bringing forward can be used in other ways. And it's that collaboration that can then foster the most kind of productive work environment, where people don't feel like, oh, actually, if I say this, am I going to be shut down? If I kind of come forward with what I want, am I going to just be dismissed? Is that not going to work? Whereas if you have that, as you said, open communication, it works for everybody, and the transparency can hopefully mean that everybody's benefiting and as happy as possible in their working environment.
Exactly, and something that it's really important to make sure that all of those conversations are they're confidential. You're not sharing things that shouldn't be shared with other people and about other people. But then I always forget to remember, I know, so as managing the whole team, I know what's going on with them. I know the content of those discussions and where everybody is at and what they're thinking, or what they're telling me they're thinking anyway. But they don't know each other. They don't know what each other's thinking. So sometimes there is an element of going, oh, you've got this, you want to do this, you want to, learn more about this or find out more about this, talk to so-and-so. And that might be within the team. It might be someone external. I know they're doing great stuff there. So have a chat with them. I can make an introduction. I know they won't mind me introducing that. So, and then you two can kind of take that next stage. And again, that's similar to mentoring, isn't it? But it's kind of just going, right, that's, I can make that introduction. Now that's up to you to go and do something about it. If that's what you want to, if you really want to do what you say you want to do.
Definitely. And that leads into the idea of professional development, which is key in being a good manager. Managing a team is helping people feel like they're moving forwards, that they're going in a direction, and then they're not just stagnating in a position and then that's it. So how do you kind of support that ongoing professional development of your paraplanning team? And are there any kind of specific initiatives that you use or training programs, or is there kind of other things that you find more useful to support professional development?
There's a bit of a mix for me, and I don't think, again, another thing that I haven't really fully decided on, have I got it perfectly right? Probably not, but I try different things, which is the key thing, because then you kind of find something that works, maybe something that doesn't. So we tried different things and turn them on, turn them off as it's not worked or as it's worked more successfully. I think that, there's a number of things. So it's understanding where someone's at or where someone wants to be on their professional study journey, because there is a demand, a need, a desire maybe to become more and more qualified. I can't say that I don't have that desire. I got to CFP last year. Why did I do that? Because it's great, but it's a real achievement to have that. And it's something that, should be respected in our profession, but it's also knowing why you're doing the study, making sure it's for the right reasons. If it's to get points to get chartered, well, what does that mean? What's that going to do for you? So so understanding someone's study desire to move on and get more qualifications, get level 6 chartered or whatever they want to do. But for me, it's more understanding the desire, the reasons why they want to do that. Where's that going to lead them? As well as factoring in the life practicalities of this. You might want to do that, but what does your life look like now? And can you fit that study in a happy way to make, provide that work-life balance still? Because studying, it's effectively work. You're having to do something that isn't, watching Netflix in the evening, or you might be missing time with your children. You really have to factor that in. And if someone was entering the study journey without thinking about that stuff, like, as an employer or even a friend, you wouldn't be doing the justice to them by kind of making sure that they were aware of those kind of things to think about. So that's one part of it. But also, actually, I get really involved in talking about, yes, exams are important, but they are absolutely not the be all and end all. We work with lots and lots of complex cases. We get lots of cases where, the financial planner doesn't know what to do, or, it's so complicated that they don't know where to start. So, what we do is not vanilla bread and butter stuff every day. So we are learning on the job all day, every day. We get really involved in financial plans, which is something probably a bit more unique to us than a lot of paraplanners don't get involved in financial plans. So on the job learning is really key. And then the final thing that I probably do with my team more recently, but I found that this is really successful, is empowering them to kind of take control of a bit of their own development, which is, to me, that looks like writing articles about stuff. So I'll come up with some topics, they'll come up with some topics, and then every month making sure that they are kind of writing something that either comes from them or comes from maybe our ideas as a team. They could be technical things, they could be things that they've learned on the job. Because I think that's, for me anyway, that's a really good way of reaffirming your learning. Because if you are writing something down, just in notes for yourself, that's one thing. If you're writing something down in a way that's going to be put out there to the profession, to your peers, to your team, it's another level. It's a level of bravery that we don't need to have. Not everybody wants that, which is fine, and there's no pushing to do it if people don't want to do it. But if people really want to, move on, get themselves out there, be heard, change this profession, then you have to, be brave and put yourself out there. And that's how I ended up doing what I do, putting myself out there more, because I realised, I was hearing from the same great paraplanners, but they were the same ones, in various different places. They didn't look like me, they didn't sound like me, and we know there's a lack of diversity. So it's encouraging others to get their voice if that's what they want to do. But stepping outside your comfort zone is a good thing for us all, I think.
Definitely. I mean, some brilliant practical points there that are really, really insightful. So thank you for sharing those. And so I want to move on now to the final two questions that we like to ask everybody who is a guest on our podcast. And the first one of those is, it's really great to find out about any books in particular that have helped people in their careers so far. So do you have a book that comes to mind that has helped you?
Yes, I do. I actually have two, and they're two different kind of reasons why. So the first one that probably helped me on my career, maybe the most, is a book called Lean In by Sheryl Sandberg. I think she's the COO, or was the CEO of Facebook. So quite an inspirational leader, but an inspirational woman as well. So it's it's a bit diversive in terms of the feminism in the book, but it was very much an eye opener for me when I was working still in a bank, realizing that I was surrounded by a very male dominated profession. It very much looked like, there was lots of suits all the time. I looked different. I went into a room and I wasn't the same as everybody else. And that book really opened my eyes to the biological and psychological differences between men and women, generally and how they act and don't realise it. So it goes into the whole world of biases. It's very, very basic level from my point of view anyway. And there are some things in there that I know some feminists don't acknowledge or agree with. But for me, it was a good starter into that world of kind of going, you can't deny the examples of the differences between, gender on a very basic level that are in that book. It was a very easy way into that, but really formulated my kind of views on if I wanted to push on and break boundaries, then I need to be aware of the things that happen without people realizing and find a way to push through them without being aggressive. So that was a really good eye opener for me. And it's quite an old book. It's probably about 10 years old or so now, but that was about the time that I was reading it and sort of getting into it and thinking, right now, let's start pushing forward. So that was a really good one. The other book that I would say is, I would recommend that people read. It's very, very technical. It's probably for those that, they've read RO2, done the exam and gone, yeah, right, now I understand investments. Read this book. So Stay the Course by Jack Bogle, the founder of Vanguard. It's basically everything that you need to know about how to start doing, passive investing, how to start Vanguard is basically the story. And it talks about his, how he identified theories, that passive investing was the way to invest. And actually, I've just found it really inspirational in terms of a leadership book, because, he started Vanguard with very much the view to bring investing to the everyday person for a very cost-effective point. And he started that with a company that meant that he wasn't going to be a billionaire on the basis of just starting this company. Like we know, the fund management world there's a lot of money involved for those people that start these companies. He wanted people in his business to be part of the business and treat them right. And so I found that really inspirational because it mirrors my kind of view about, people and profit. It's not one or another, it's both together. And you need to treat people right if you want to, do good in this world and be thought of as a real leader rather than just a rich leader.
Yeah, that sounds really, really good. Great suggestion there. I'll definitely check that one out.
It's a bit hard. It's a bit hardcore, I'm going to say. Like it's a big book. It's a big book. A lot of the sections in there, I'm kind of, I skipped over because it is really, it goes into, alpha and beta is your basic in there. Like it goes much, much deeper than the stuff in RO2. But to understand the basics of it, like how do you start a fund? Like I don't know, but now I have a bit of an idea, which is really interesting about how these different things work, and also the kind of the things in our profession that we have seen quite a lot, like the fight between active investment management and passive investment management, and it kind of opens your eyes to like a lot of the politics in the world, which is again an interesting way into those kinds of areas that do affect what our clients see, what their clients see, and what we then think about those things too.
Yeah, absolutely. Great suggestion. Okay, final question for you then. Big, open, wide question, incredibly broad. So take this in any which way you'd like to. And the final question is, what are you most excited to see in the world of finance in the next 10 years?
For me, it's more of the new and less of the old. So all of the things I've been talking about is all to do with, involving more different people, more diversity within our profession. So changing this profession is it's a slow and steady build. It's not a race. It's something that won't happen unless we put loads of effort in pretty much every day. But that's my hope and my dream that will happen in finance, in financial planning as a whole. And I really look forward to kind of that new era, which, NextGen Planners is a big part of. There's lots of other initiatives that we see as well that are, bringing people into the profession in different places, whether that's through, initiatives that are bringing in financial advisors or planners. We're trying to bring in paraplanners through the Paraplanner Club and introduce this is a really great career option for them. But trying to work on that and just make our profession full of really amazing people and make it a nice, diverse profession where everyone feels really welcome.
Yeah, absolutely. That'd be great, wouldn't it? Let's hurry that one along. Let's get that one moving.
Like, I want it
less
now.
than 10
I want it
years.
now,
Yeah.
but it's like, you just got to slowly and steadily do these things. If you keep doing the right thing every day with the right values and the right mind, then it will happen. It's not going to change the world massively, but as long as you're playing your part and everybody does, then it will change.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you so much for sharing all of your insights, experience with all of us. It's been an absolute pleasure, as always, talking to you. So thank you very much for coming on the podcast.
You're welcome, Amelia. Thank you very much.
So that was Sian Davies Cole on the NextGen Planners podcast. If you enjoyed this podcast, you can hear all of our previous podcasts on Spotify, Apple, Google, and on our website. And there you can also find loads more information about our brilliant community. And finally, if you can, do leave us a review. It really helps to grow the podcast and get it out to even more people. Thank you very much.